Yup! Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. I finally decided I know what I want to do with YouTube Shorts. I want to answer some questions, D&D related questions. Over on my channel, I posted a community post basically asking y'all to ask me whatever weird, silly, odd questions you want over on the post, and I'll answer it in a YouTube Shorts format. I got inspired heavily by somebody called Cinderblock Sally on YouTube. I've been getting their shorts recommended to me a lot lately, and I really enjoy their content, and it inspired me to want to offer my own silly, weird advice for different situations. So if you have your own really strange, weird questions to ask regarding about D&D or how to run something weird and specific, ask me over in the community post and I'll respond in a YouTube Shorts format, just to kind of get myself practicing using YouTube Shorts. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today while you answer that question. The worst DM I've met. Characters of the story, not mentioning those that had a role in the story: me, Iris the female human paladin, my adopted sister and first-time player, Eri the female gnome cleric, best friend Kane the male half-elf bard, DM the DM. Two other players, I'll just call them by their class, rogue and barbarian, but rest assured they didn't really play as much of a role as Kane and my sister Eri did. That out of the way, we can begin. For context, I'm 19 years old and Eri is 15 with a disability. Me and my family adopted her from a pretty crappy family that's had her since she was just old enough to walk and talk before deciding to put her up for adoption when she was 9. She had a hard time trusting us. Took her a literal month to just feel comfortable sitting with us to eat, as she'd sleep on the floor because that was just how she was slept, even though I fixed her a place to sleep in our guest bedroom, and even mine if she ever felt scared sleeping alone. Good lord, what kind of life did she live if she slept on the floor instead of a bed? Trial and error later, she grew increasingly close with me and my parents, and she'd always come to play games with me and my friends. One day she came across me playing D&D on Discord and asked if she could play since I seemed like I was having fun. At the time, my session was reaching its climax, so unfortunately she couldn't join, but when I found out we were having a part 2 to our finished session, I invited my sister to create a D&D Beyond account, helped her set up a Discord account, then join our session. It's at that time when we were getting ready fixing her character for the session that she met my best friend, who was sweet enough to buy and give her the same book collection as I have, so she doesn't feel left out, as she said. He and I helped my sister through and through until the character was finished, welcoming us to Eri the gnome cleric. I was Iris the paladin, our frontline tank. Kane was our DPS pirate bard with a few dips in warlock thanks to his variant human trait, and Eri prioritized in healing and buffing the party. She had pretty low health, but that was just so she can have higher wisdom for better healing and medicine. DM introduced us to session 0, and it started up like this. We're going to meet our characters separately. Where are all of you in this hub world? I'm playing as a peacekeeper at the door of the tavern. I'm a city guard, so I'm patrolling around the city. I'm giving a speech to the future warriors at our local paladin camp. Kane, your ship hasn't arrived at the port. We're skipping you for now. Eri, what are you doing? I am listening to Iris' speech at the camp. No, you're not. No one knows each other yet, so you couldn't possibly be with her. But could she practically be an NPC in Iris' story until she realized she's a party member? No, if she's a cleric, there's no reason for her to be in a camp of well-trained soldiers. She'd be in a church baptizing people or converting people into believing the town's god. Cleric and paladin are kind of like similar, right? At least I think they are. I don't think there's a problem having a cleric listening to a paladin speech. Clerics will be able to walk around along like paladin places. I think so. Listen, maybe I'm assuming stuff. Maybe this world is just very different, but I don't see anything wrong with that. Anyway, the DM is kind of expecting things from Eri without telling her ahead of time. I think Eri is just inexperienced, and the DM is just putting expectations on Eri with no reason, really. At least I don't know. That's what I'm getting, at least. Maybe I'm reading a little bit early on. Rogue tries to join the conversation, but all that happens is they get shot down too. And ultimately, Eri decides she's not at the camp at all. She's just helping around the local church. I'm helping clean the church if it's closing hours. Your church is open 24 hours a day. Can I help with cooking then? I don't know, can you? I don't know, can you? Your DM sounds like a dick. What is the problem? I'm not the type that likes conflict, and as much as it kills me inside, I didn't say anything. At least not out loud. I just messaged Eric just to say you're helping the church with whatever they help need. Skip a while later. Kane arrives at the port. We meet at the adventurer's hub to set up our party and go on our first expedition together to find out where we all stand out. Kane's our DPS. Me and Barbarian are the frontline experts. Rogue was our sniper who likes having the high ground rather than the low ground against opponents. And Eri was our 24/7 healer who uses sling to fight because she says in her backstory that she was never properly trained to fight. So she basically grabbed the first thing to a cheap weapon she could get until she had a character development moment. But the DM didn't seem to like that. Wait, you only have a sling? Yes, sir? Why'd you tell me you only had a sling? She wanted to just be a healer until she's ready to fight. Is it really that bad of an idea? I mean, we already have the frontliners and good DPS, so I don't see what's the problem. What if the rogue goes down? What if you go down? What if the tank goes down? Then she won't be able to fight, because she's just a stupid healer with no substance. Oh my god, DM, shut the fuck up. Who cares if she has a sling, dude? Have that be as part of a character development. Have that be like a reason for her to pick up a mace and start swinging it wildly around until she can finally bludgeon somebody. Have it be part of the story, DM. Why are you ripping on her? What the fuck? Has your DM always been a dick? Because right now, they're coming off as a major asshat for no reason. Rogue tells DM to chill, and he responds with, you know what? I'm not too argue with a child. If you want to be a healer, fine. But don't cry when the situation makes you the last man standing and all you have is a stupid slingshot. Eri starts breaking down, even though she has herself muted in-game, but since she was in the guest bedroom, which is just a rock skip away from my room, I can hear her loud and clear. I never wanted her to cry over something that was supposed to be fun, and while I know the DM was never like this with me before Eri joined, no way was he worth hearing Eri cry. DM, I need to go AFK with Eri. Why? She has homework that she forgot to do, and she needs to get it done. For frick's sake, fine. 5-minute break. I can't tell if that just slipped out or he was legitimately angry, but Eri didn't really have homework if he couldn't put 2 and 2 together. Really, I just made up an excuse so I can go to Eri to hug her as tight as I could and calm her down. I tell her to go get herself something to eat and I'll talk with the group, but then she says something that I kind of did but almost didn't expect. Eri tells me she doesn't want to make the DM angry, so I tell her to go and get her something to eat, all while trying to keep a smile on my face so I can make her calm. While she's gone, I use Eri's computer to try and talk to the DM. Hey DM, he just left for a few minutes. Everything okay? Yeah, we're fine. I just don't think me and Eri are gonna be able to finish. Something came up. I'll let him know. Thanks. Good. I'm glad taking care of Eri. Honestly, this is not worth it. It just simply is not worth it. This guy is just not... It's not worth having a DM to play through if they're just gonna make your sister upset over just having a slingshot as an item. In a D&D Beyond, you know what you could do as a DM? Probably, really any TTRPG. You could just drag and drop an item. So the DM could have just been like, you know what? A sling is fine, but here, we'll give you a mace just as a backup. Simple as that. Simple as that, DM. Why do you have to be a dick about it? Turns out the DM had heard us, just didn't bother speaking up since he didn't have the server muted. He had a habit of lurking Discord for whatever excuse he can come up with. So since he found out that me and Eri were quitting, he decided to do something to our characters that I didn't know about until very much later. Eri died because she was captured by and tortured by bandits. Oh my god, is this DM? Oh my god. Oh my god. Did the guy really just start lashing out on your characters because y'all left? Also, can I just say, holy f***, he went really deep into the punishment for everything. Why? I was used for breeding by said bandits, and I was pregnant with 4 kids, 2 more on the way. But because I've practically betrayed the rules of my patron, I gave up my paladin ways and shifted to the dark path. Rogue died trying to save us, and the bandits were secretly cannibals, and they decided to eat her. The recruits Barbarian trained, who were just around the age of 13 to 16 years old, died in battle, and Barbarian was practically so hurt that he offed himself. As for Cain, he had him turned into a slave by the BBEG in a backstory, someone who claimed Cain's eye to give him his warlock powers, as someone that Cain had tried escaping for years. Right, so basically everybody got screwed. Wow, DM, fantastic end to the story. What a great second part of the story. You played throughout the entire campaign just to throw it away because you decided to be a dick. You decided to just make people cry for no reason because you decided to rip on them for having a fucking slingshot. It was over a slingshot. The whole thing literally just boiled down because the guy was making fun of Ellie for having a fucking slingshot. I wanted to play a healer. God forbid she wants to play a healer. Jesus Christ, dude. So yeah, the campaign was pretty much dead, and the DM since gave up on even trying to bring us back. So what happened next, you may be wondering? Well, me and Eri take a while, but we're getting back into enjoying the hobby again. Cain even came along for the ride. We're now having one heck of a game together. Eri decided to play her gnome cleric again, but instead of being gawked at for having just a slingshot, our new DM had her go along with it until she gets comfortable fighting, both in and out of character. I retired Iris to instead play as a character decked out in mystery, but also someone who was contracted to protect Eri. Kane was temporary allied to BBUG before joining our party for long haul, and I'm happy to say that we're doing 20 times better than how we started. Screw that DM, but thank you for teaching me that I need to grow a spine so I can keep my sister from getting hurt again. Thank you, Kane, for being that guy, and thank you, Eri, for showing me no game or stranger behind a computer screen is worth your happiness. Yeah! The DM is actually being a chat. The new DM did the thing that I talked about, where she gets used to stuff, and then later on that becomes her character, like, story plot, where she does pick up a weapon, learns to properly wield a weapon, and gets confident, and everybody comes together. Oh my god, finally a good, satisfying end. Dude, this is the kind of stuff that makes my heart feel alive. And I'm typically very upset and cold and broody because of all the RPG horror story cringe, but this time, I feel alive. But before the story ends, we do have an update and an edit. I think it's to give us more context for everything, so let's get to it. Edit. I wanted to add these bits and pieces of detail for the sake of context. About the DM, Kane and I only knew the DM based on what he's told us, and I didn't really want Eri to know about his story besides that he knows what he is doing. Before Eri joined, DM was going through an off and on relationship, and he was going through some substance abuse. But it was only after the breakup, the week when Eri joined, that he really started becoming the man you just read about. What else bothered me was that he seemed to only take his frustrations out on the girls, me, Eri, and Rogue, while the boys, Kane and Barbarian, basically got the bros before hoes sort of attitude. And yes, even his girlfriend had the same problem. More on her later. I typically call this sort of people cowards. The kind of people that don't mind yelling and taking out frustrations on women because maybe they think they're weaker or lesser or whatever, but can't do it for the boys because bros before hoes kind of nonsense, which is fucking stupid. Just be a nice person. Don't be a dick to anybody. Don't take your frustrations out of anybody. But if you do that, fucking apologize and just be a decent, normal fucking human being. It's not that difficult. If a random tiefling on the internet can fucking do it, then so can you. So stop being such a fucking dick, DM. Simple. One other thing. The DM never really had a chance to sit and talk with my sister like Kane did. He had an opportunity to talk to her during session 0, but I did mention to him that yes, Eri has a disability, but probably my fault. I didn't really get into too much detail, just she's disabled and yelling makes her upset. He says okay, we go about our day. But I guess while he was going through her character sheet, he must have skimmed through her inventory and just said, okay, you're in. But even then, even if she just had a slingshot as part of her inventory, what's the big deal? Clubs are like 2 silver a piece, and you could probably make a makeshift club just grabbing a big bonk stick and just swinging. Maybe reduces damage by like -1 or something, I don't know. Weapons are cheap in D&D. If you have a sling, you can just get a club that's like 2 silver, or a spear that's like 1 gold, or a dagger that's 2 gold, or whatever. I think it's the values. Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. But weapons in D&D are cheap, especially simple weapons, because they're simple. Though, you know what, now that I think about it, at the end of the day, I don't feel like the inventory or just a slingshot was enough. The guy just wanted to pick on somebody. He wanted to find something to yell about. He saw that she has a slingshot and decided this is the hill I die on. This is what I'm gonna argue about to take out my frustrations or something. The DM's girlfriend. I found out about the DM's girlfriend after she joined our now ongoing campaign as a warlock. In private messaging, she confessed to me after I told her my D&D experience that she had dated him in the past, but they broke up. What caused the breakup was that she was trying to get him help and he didn't want the fix because he thought she was trying to make him into someone he's not. A quote, badass with a big boobed hoe girlfriend. His words, not mine. She also told me he's trying to start up a campaign soon. I guess we just got an invite. Me and Kane. He will have his girlfriend as a second DM, but he warned her that if she does something he doesn't like, he'll put her in her place. This is what made her stop contacting him altogether, even calling the police and going to court to put a restraining order on him, since he knew where she lived. Kane offered to help her since his uncle is a lawyer, and she immediately took the offer if anything came up. I don't know where he is now, but I won't stress over him. We're all happy, and I would rather stay happy than worry about a deadbeat like him. This guy is such a problem. I don't know what happened. Like, at the start of the campaign, y'all played through the campaign, something must have been off. There must have been some sort of like red flags or signs about this sort of thing. Must have been. There have to have been something, right? Or maybe you're just really good at hiding that stuff. I don't know. It's a miracle y'all went through a first full campaign, and then this stuff happened, and the guy thinks it's like an epic chat lord that doesn't need to be fixed. Yeah, you have problems, buddy. You need a fix. You need a fix bad. Campaign context. Our campaign has been put on hold due to the holidays, but we're expecting a comeback sometime in January. So far, Eri has given her sling to a child who wanted to grow to be an adventurer like her. We made her first multiclass into a fighter, so she can have a boost in health and defense. and redid some of her stats so that she can be our frontline alongside Kane's paladin, though she still helps in healing the party. I released my contract to protect Eri, retired him after completing his character story, and I'm now working on creating a new character because the campaign is on hold. I won't debut him until January, and the DM's GF is an awesome warlock player who likes getting into everyone's heads, enemy or ally, and so far she is Kane's worst nightmare. We're nearing on fighting her character's BBEG, so we can't wait to face off against a vampire. Thank God it isn't Asterion. With that, the story is over and I'm a happy girl. Hope everyone had a happy and Merry Christmas, and I'm hoping the next time I have to post anything will be cheery and not a horror story. Take care, everyone. You as well. Also, I am so sorry for delaying for so long. This was like right before Christmas and New Year's. Oh my God, I'm so far behind. Oh, but anyway, you know what? I enjoyed the story. That was actually really nice. It had a really nice ending, and it did have a problem DM that was doing problem things, but you know what? We get a lot of those too. I'm glad you kicked the DM to the curb, got a new DM, and now having a blast. And I really hope y'all don't have any more RPG horror stories. Like, I appreciate for real though. Like, I get it's like, you know, part of my job, you know, read RPG horror stories, but the one thing I don't want to see are RPG horror stories. If we never had RPG horror stories to begin with, then people could be happy and playing. I mean, I'd be out of a job. I guess it's a job. I don't know. It's something I do. Whenever there's no RPG horror stories, that means people are busy having fun, and that makes me feel very happy. Just saw your video with transphobia. This one of mine I posted on Reddit a while back. It's one of those rare horror stories with a happy ending for all. I also have a glory story I really like, but I don't know if you like doing glory stories. So if you want that one, I'll send it to you if you ask for it. Glory stories are a godsend. If you have a glory story to send it my way. I love me a good glory story. We need to have like a whole video like set up just to appreciate all the good things and glory stories that we have. To really celebrate the good moments in TTRPGs amidst all the chaos and RPG horror story and stuff. I feel kind of bad for calling it a TTRPG horror story because it lacks the villains, and I want to make it absolutely clear that even though mistakes were made, I do not hold any other player or the GM accountable for what I experienced. But looking back, it was definitely a horror story. I'm a trans woman, and even though I'm now out and fully living authentically as myself, this occurred while I was still in the closet. I joined a new and interesting group that was starting up a campaign in the then new game system Forbidden Lands. The setup was that every session would be a self-contained adventure with 5 players, including the GM. The group had more than 10 players, so every session had people opt in if they could make a suggested date. The people who had went the longest without a game had priority. Between games, we would text roleplay in a Discord server about what the group was doing. As we were slowly putting together the party, started building a new society, finding a place for it, resources, as well as developing our characters and relationships, stringing the single adventure together into an epic chronicle. I absolutely loved the idea, and I asked around if anyone wanted to share a backstory, and one of the players agreed that her character, a male human hunter, would be childhood friends with my female half-elf skald, the game's version of a bard. We had been separated years ago and we were trying to find each other. This is particularly interesting since we could both play several sessions before actually ended up in a session together, which would be our reunion. I pretty much always play female characters as I've lived so much of my life in a closet pretending to be a man, which has caused a lot of suffering. Even now that I'm fully out, I tend to avoid playing male characters. But back then, role-playing games was the only outlet I had. The only time I could feel like I was myself, even though I was playing a character. They all saw me as that quirky guy who enjoys portraying women in game, and is pretty good at it. That worked for me, as while we played, everyone is humoring each other's fiction, and so unknowingly the other players got to see more of my truth by accepting my fiction, and I felt seen in a way that elevated much of the suffering dysphoria and being the closet cause. It was like while playing I could breathe, and while not playing I couldn't. Games are a great outlet for all sorts of things. Sometimes you could be going through issues, so having that escapism can be great. I know a lot of people that got into VR chat roleplay because they had a really tough IRL life that want to forget about. And playing as a character let them forget about that sort of thing. They weren't a person that was working 9 to 5 at some hard job and having some dealing with debt or relationship issues and stuff like that. They were a proud knight, or a baker, or a brothel worker. They were whatever they wanted to be, and they could just escape it. This escapism, this level of escapism is just so beautiful. Also, playing TTRPGs allow you to do a little bit more self-discovery and make you feel more comfortable, and as long as you're happy, then do whatever you want. Whatever you would like to do, always pursue something that makes you happy. I don't talk at all about anything behind Morrow, but the person behind Morrow, I come from playing VR chat a lot. VR chat has a massive community of just a bunch of guys running around as anime girls, and it's glorious. hilarious and it's incredible because all my best friends are just hot anime girls, and it's great. VR chat was a huge eye-opener for a lot of people that were dealing with like gender dysphoria and like self-identity and things. And even though they're like an anime avatar, having them be in a different body that's different from the IRL helps them kind of open up and have this self-realization for some of them. Whether it's a journey for self-discovery or just playing for fun of it, I mean, you do whatever you want to do. It's your life. Live your life the best you want to live it. And I'm glad that things worked out for you. Forbidden Lands is a very harsh game, and my character tragically died before even reuniting with her friend. That was of course a bummer, but even a sad story can be a good story, so I cried my tears and moved on. My character's death would help drive an emotional story for her friend when he finds out what happens. I took a little break while pondering who my next character would be. One day I was enjoying a meal at a family gathering while a group of our other 4 players were playing a session. I suddenly got a message from the GM. My child's childhood friend was in that session. He had discovered my fate and had convinced the party to get me resurrected. The GM's message asked me how I would react to being pulled back from the death, hearing voices, seeing lights, etc. And I responded so you could portray it in game. I thought that was sweet and I replied. Then the rug was pulled out from under my feet. This is when the horror story started. There are a few ways to get resurrected in Forbidden Lands, and the GM is free to make interpretations, but one commonality is that every time you die, you permanently lose 1 point in charisma, signifying that something in your soul had been lost. The party had found a witch who had given some suggestions and had gone a very dark route. One way to get a loved one back is to sacrifice another loved one. The sacrifice does not have to be your loved one as long as they are loved by someone, so they sacrificed one of the NPCs that were with them on the adventure, who was a family man. As if that wasn't dark enough, the twist to this resurrection meant that my character's soul would inhabit the body of the sacrificed individual, meaning my female half-elf was stuck in the body of a middle-aged human man. Wow, dude, that's pretty dark, but I also have a question. If your soul is stuck in the body of somebody else that isn't your character, then is it really your character? I mean, maybe it could be. I mean, it could be some sort of like an adventure or something, but I hope the GM talked to you about this sort of thing ahead of time, right? This is before Session 0 became a big thing. Today, I think everyone involved would have checked with players before doing something like this. I think the GM simply thought it would be an interesting dark twist for me to play out that would underline the harsh nature of this world, and the other players played along. They had no idea of knowing just how much this even hurt me. My only respite, where I felt like I could breathe, had shattered. The dysphoria and despair I was trying to escape by role-playing had seeped into the only safe place, and I couldn't face it. I had to excuse myself from the family dinner and sit in a room alone. My legs shook as I walked and my stomach was turning. I could barely stand. Even though I loved the group and the campaign, in my mind at the time, I felt like I had to just disappear and ghost everyone just to be able to breathe properly. It was a very dark place and I stayed in it mentally for days. Then it hit me. Sure, they didn't know I was trans, and they probably don't know much about trans people, if anything at all. They had no way of knowing how bad dysphoria can be and how traumatizing the situation would be. They thought that gender swap stories are funny and quirky comedies, not the dark soul-destroying body horror that severely dysphoric people can experience. I would make this a teaching moment. An impossible magical situation had occurred, so everyone is free to speculate how that would feel, right? Wrong. I know exactly what it feels like. I kept playing my character with a new purpose. I was the perfect candidate for portraying severe gender dysphoria, and I did not hold back. My character stopped speaking louder than a whisper because hearing her voice would be so wrong and unbearable. My previously joyful character lost all ability to experience happiness, and she changed her name to Nameless. She was still a good person and wanted to help those in need, but became a sad, wandering shadow trying to do whatever good she could. I feel like the other players, including the GM, had trouble parsing this unpleasant eye-opener. It was dark and depressing, but also very raw and authentic. Because it was raw and authentic. I wasn't role-playing anymore. I was just straight up showing them what dysphoria is like. It isn't a funny, quirky joke. It is soul-destroying despair. The very next session, the GM devised a side quest that would lead to a secret cove of druids, who were rumored to be able to create flesh from clay and recreate the body from the memory of a soul. It was clear the GM had experienced a "what have I done" moment, and to his credit, this was a masterful way of dealing with it. Nameless and a few friends went on the side quest, completed it, and claimed the reward, even though it was costly. Going into another body meant I had to die in my current one, losing yet another permanent point of charisma, but nor me or my character hesitated for a second, and so my female half-elf scout was back to her own self. Sans the belly button, which was an interesting touch if you ask me, and I kept playing her for quite a while, and a romance eventually blossomed between her and her childhood friend. And yes, I did come out to the group eventually, over a year before I came out publicly and buried my dead name for good. there you have it. It was indeed a severe horror story, but happy one in the end. There were no villains here, everyone was well meaningful, and I used it as opportunity to educate, and everyone involved is now better for it, including myself. And I really do want to emphasize, if anyone from the group reads this and recognizes themselves, I do not blame anyone. I do not blame anyone more than I blame myself. You couldn't have known about my gender identity. In fact, I'd made an effort to hide it from you. I love playing with each and every one of this group, and I hope in the future this experience has left all of us more open-minded and better suited to take good care of each other in this wonderful hobby. Well, at least it had a happy ending. You know what? I kind of needed a happy ending. I've been reading a lot of horror stories. I've been recording until what, almost 2 in the morning. So I need a little bit of happy pep in my step. Thanks so much for writing the story, and thanks so much for sharing your experience. And I don't know if I've ever read a horror story where there was no bad guy, there was no problem player, there was no problem DM. It was just bad circumstances sort of spiraled out to being a little bit worse because nobody would have known. But I guess at the end of the day, it is an important lesson. Always have session zeros and always communicate with your players and DM about any sort of things like that. Communication is very important. Thanks so much for your story submission. I really do appreciate you writing to me. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.